Did you know it's possible to hit the high dive and have a fear of heights? Preparing to approach the diving board is a lot more complex and scarier than you might think. These athletes go through tons of training, both in the water and on dry land, so if you're ready, let's dive in right now. Diet. You might think there is a one-size-fits-all diet for athletes out there, but this couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, if a diver fed themselves like a swimmer, they would find themselves in bad shape for their next competition. Dietitian Catherine Kruppa has advised the US Olympic diving team and says these athletes don't need as many calories as swimmers or runners. But since their sport relies on strength, she recommends they stock up on tons of veggies, whole grains, and lean proteins. Diver Katrina Young has tried many different diets, from strictly plant-based to cutting out gluten. But she's found that moderation is the key, and while she'll sometimes splurge on frozen yogurt, she generally sticks to smoothies, protein, and steamed veggies. Finding the right fuel isn't an option for professional divers. Training. Naturally, divers spend a ton of time in the pool, but they also spend hours training on dry land. According to diver Laura Ryan, they spend about 4 hours per day in the pool and an equal amount of time working hard outside of it. They use trampolines and floor diving boards to practice their moves on a mat instead of in the pool. These divers need to get their forms just right and don't discount how much energy it takes to climb up hundreds of steps to get to the board. Olympian Jennifer Abel says she trains 5 days a week, splitting up her days between pool work and drive dives. Strength is massively important for these athletes, so they do a ton of strength training as well as yoga and Pilates to gain flexibility. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, divers like Cassidy Cook have been forced to work out in quarantine, and it turns out it's not that easy without proper equipment. She and her team have started doing Zoom workouts, using their body weights and stretching to stay in shape. Training is so essential, athletes don't even get a pass during a pandemic. Hot tub. Have you ever noticed that Olympic divers tend to head straight from the pool to the hot tub? It turns out this dip is optional, but many divers consider it an important part of the process. According to sports psychology professor and former Rutgers University diver David Fagley, the pool is cold while the hot tub is hot, making it a great place to warm up quickly. Come on, we could have guessed that. But beyond this simple explanation is the fact that the post-dive hot tub is a tradition that many athletes have managed to incorporate into their mental workflow. It helps keep their muscles loose, but more importantly, it's a part of their routine, and keeping a routine is a surprisingly important part of mastering the high dive. Shaving. There's a reason so many professional athletes prefer to perform without any body hair, and that's because when you're a professional, milliseconds can make the difference between going home with the gold or going home empty-handed. Basically, the idea is that removing body hair helps reduce the amount of drag and prevents athletes from being slowed down at crucial moments. But there's surprisingly very little scientific evidence to back up the need to BIC, at least in terms of large-scale studies. In fact, some people think it's really an example of mind over matter, wherein athletes convince themselves smooth skin helps them perform better and their confidence helps their dives. Either way, this isn't a chance professional divers are willing to take. Strength. Most of us have jumped into a pool at some point, but being able to leap from the high dive at an Olympic level is something else entirely. According to Jennifer Abel, diving is a great general fitness sport. Divers who use the springboard tend to have stronger legs, while platform divers need to have enough arm strength to do handstands on the platforms. We got tired just thinking about that. Dry diving. For their own safety, divers are required to master a dry dive before trying out new moves in a pool. Yes, it's possible to dive on dry land, but to do so you'll need some special equipment. Some athletes try out their moves with the help of trampolines or foam pits to provide a soft place to land. Olympians like Jennifer Abel generally dry dive with the help of a harness set to support their weight. Coaches pull on ropes rigged up to the harness, lifting divers up into the air and allowing them to practice the motions of new techniques. This helps divers learn what to expect when they finally make a splash and reduce the risk of injuries. Reviewing. High divers have coaches and teammates to help them with feedback, but that's no substitute for reviewing your own mistakes and successes. Looking over old dive footage is an important part of improving, even if it can be cringe-inducing sometimes. Jennifer Abel says she can easily spend hours reviewing tapes of past events, analyzing every last second she spent on a dive, and figuring out how to refine it in the future. Dynamic duo. Most of us tend to think of diving as a solo sport, but let's not forget about the incredible athletes who manage to pull off synchronized diving. According to divers Jennifer Abel and Melissa Centrini, finding the perfect partner is a must when it comes to excelling at this sport. Melissa claims the biggest factor in their success is the chemistry between them and the fact that they have similar attitudes when it comes to training and competing. These two are in agreement that they want to go all out and they aren't afraid to put in the work necessary to make this a reality. Jennifer says having Melissa by her side helps her cope with the pressure of major events, and she knows that whether they win or lose, they'll do so as a team. Staying safe. If you've ever experienced the physical and mental pain of a belly flop, you might understand just how important safety is to high divers. Springboard divers can interact with the water going 19 miles per hour, while leaping from a 10-meter platform means flying at up to 37 miles per hour. When they slip into the water, they decrease their velocity by over 50% in less than a second, and if everything isn't perfect, a serious injury can occur. Hitting the water wrong or striking the board or platform can cause a lot of damage, but even if a move is executed perfectly, divers can still get serious back, shoulder, elbow, or wrist injuries. Divers are high risk for back problems, and according to Olympic gold medalist Lara Wilkinson, the mental impact of an injury can be just as bad as the physical. Having to sit out can be demoralizing, and it's hard to get back on track. Olympic athlete Paola Espinosa developed a herniated disc in her spine, and although she struggled to dress herself, she said the wound to her pride was far more devastating. Despite this setback, she's still competing and says she's not done quite yet. Depth. This one may seem a little obvious, but it's a huge aspect of diver safety. These athletes need to know the exact depth of the water they're diving into. A few feet can mean the difference between a successful dive and a serious injury. Olympic Village. There are obviously tons of rules these athletes have to follow in the pool, but taking part in the Olympics is something else entirely. Olympians are invited to stay at the famous Olympic Village, which offers a bank, salon, post office, and more. Since it's off limits for non-Olympians, the rest of us can't help but wonder what really happens there. Swimmer Natalie Coughlin compared it to a giant college campus and insists it's much less exciting than fans tend to picture. Coughlin said the lack of bathtubs was definitely a challenge when she and her teammates had to shave. There is no alcohol for sale in the Olympic Village, and no competition bicycles are allowed to be ridden through the streets, but perhaps the biggest challenge of staying here is having to deal with a variety of competitors from all walks of life forced to share space with each other. Chamois. Have you ever wondered why divers tend to have such small towels with them? Well, they're called chamois, and they're a surprisingly important part of the sport. While many swimmers swear by them too, they're considered an essential item for divers. They're ultra absorbent and can take in 10 times their weight in water, then be wrung up and used again. In the 1960s and early 1970s, they were made of chamois skin, but today they're mainly made of synthetic materials. Drying off is especially important for divers if they want to pull off intricate moves. They often hold on to their legs, and if their hands or legs are wet, they can lose their grips. Like many aspects of diving, there's both a practical and psychological component involved. Chamois help divers make sure they're dry enough to compete, and many consider them to be similar to safety blankets when it comes to providing comfort during an event. No splashing. Sometimes making a splash is a good thing, but not when it comes to jumping from the high dive. In fact, splashing is one of the very worst things a diver can do. According to diver Abby Johnston, an important thing to realize is that diving doesn't stop once a person meets the water. When they enter the pool, they use their hands, wrists, and arms to push themselves through the water, moving water underneath them instead of letting it rise to the surface. Some master divers are so adept at water displacement that they make a sound similar to tearing paper when they slip under the water instead of a mighty splash. Superstitions. For plenty of divers, superstitions are a hard and fast rule. Synchronized divers Kelsey Bryan and Abby Johnston always need to have a trusty rubber ducky between their bags facing the pool before they can compete. These kinds of rituals are surprisingly common, and many athletes believe they help them focus on the task at hand. But some people like Laura Wilkinson disagree. Laura believes piling on too many pre-competition rituals can be a big trap. She prefers to tailor her activities to her specific mood, such as listening to music when she needs to get hyped up or turning it off if she feels herself getting tense. High dives. It turns out that being fearless in the face of heights is not a prerequisite to being a diver. In fact, most divers claim they get nervous when they're staring down into the pool, but they have to push through and take the plunge anyway. Diver Lisanne Richard does extreme high diving, climbing up to a 17-meter or over 55-foot tall platform on the regular. And according to Lisanne, she's afraid each and every time. She just refuses to let it stop her from diving. What do you think about the way divers get ready for the big event? How do you think the Tokyo Olympics being postponed will affect the athletes? Let us know what you think in the comment section below, and don't forget to click on the subscribe button for more new videos from us here at The Taco. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.